Good afternoon, and welcome to Learning at Home with VIA. My name is Nikki Wilson, and I'm a teacher who works as the STEM on the Move coordinator, a program joint between Mansfield University and Blast Intermediate Unit 17, funded by a PA Smart Grant. Welcome to this afternoon's lesson. I'm so excited that you could join me today to talk about animals and intelligence. We're going to look at 4 different mammals in Pennsylvania and see if we can determine if they would be considered intelligent or not. During our discussion today, we're going to define intelligence. What is intelligence? Do mammals in Pennsylvania show intelligence? We'll look at squirrels, beavers, bears, and deer, which turned out to be a special lesson for me. Then we'll have a review, and at the end of this slide presentation, you'll see the sources that I used in my research. How intelligent are mammals in Pennsylvania? What do you think? Well, to help you, let's define the terms we're talking about. First of all, what is intelligence? Intelligence is the ability to acquire and apply knowledge and skills. It doesn't say we already have a lot of knowledge and skills. It says we can acquire them. So we can learn them. Knowledge are facts, information, and skills acquired by a person. And a skill is a particular ability. So we could say knowledge could be a list of what you know, and a skill is a list of what you can do. Another great way to look at intelligences is to look at what's called Gardner's multiple intelligences. Around 1983, some research was published that led us to expand our description of intelligence. We talk about different types of intelligence. A visual spatial learner, or person with that intelligence, are students who like to see what they are learning about. They're good at visualizing. They might grow up to be an architect, an artist, or an engineer. A verbal linguistic learning intelligence is students who are book smart. They like to read and write. Careers for them would include being a writer, a lawyer, or a teacher. People with mathematical, logical intelligence are students who like numbers and do well in their math classes. They could look to future careers as a scientist, mathematician, or a computer programmer. Bodily kinesthetic learners are the students that like to move when they're learning. It might have gotten them in trouble in grade school. These students grow up to become dancers, builders, and sculptors. A musical rhythmic learning style means you like learning through music and rhythm. I think it's why we learn to sing the alphabet. People who are really strong in this intelligence become musicians, composers, or music teachers. People with intrapersonal intelligence are students who are aware of their own thoughts and feelings. Future careers for them might be psychology, philosophy, a counselor, or a salesperson. Students who have interpersonal intelligence are students who like to be with other people and share their thoughts and ideas with them. They could be philosophers, writers, theorists, or scientists. People with a naturalist intelligence are animal and outdoors lovers. They become biologists, conservationists, and gardeners. Existentialist learners are people who ask why we're here on Earth and what our purpose is. They could be cosmologists, mediation instructors, and yoga instructors. These classifications of intelligence allow us to expand our definition of intelligence to people who have skills and knowledge that's different than our own. It also allows us to appreciate how animal intelligence is different from our own. The first mammal we're going to talk about are eastern gray squirrels, Sciurus carolinensis. These are found throughout Pennsylvania. They're small mammals that live in all areas. They make their homes in rural, wild, and urban landscapes. They feed on nuts and seeds that they gather and store. Squirrels communicate with each other through chattering, tail twitching, and scent marking. Squirrels use vocal sounds and body language to communicate to us and to each other. Have you ever approached a squirrel and watched them freeze in place? They're holding still so you won't see them. They want you to walk on by and leave them alone. Maybe you've heard them start to chatter loudly as you approached. When they do that, they're trying to scare you away from the food they have hidden. Have you heard that? Well, that's their warning to you. Hey, get away. Have you ever seen a squirrel that's frozen and then twitches its tail? That twitch, just like a cat twitches their tail, is them telling other squirrels in the area, hey, I've seen something. You better watch out. Squirrels also use their urine to mark their territory, to tell other squirrels the areas they consider to be theirs. So we've determined that squirrels can communicate, but how smart are they? Well, have you ever seen a squirrel get into a squirrel-proof bird feeder? Squirrels are very good problem solvers and will find a way to get at a food source even though humans try to make that difficult. Many people who feed birds try to protect their bird seeds from being eaten by squirrels and spend much time, effort, and money to do so. Usually the squirrel finds a way to get to the food they want anyway. In this picture, we see a painted bunting in a squirrel-proof feeder outside the visitor center at Audubon's Corkscrew Swamp Sanctuary near Naples, Florida. Many times visitors to the center would tell the staff, "Oh no, there's a squirrel trapped in your bird feeder." No, that squirrel wasn't stuck. He'd figured out a way to get inside a squirrel-proof feeder. They're pretty tricky, aren't they? We think as humans we're pretty intelligent. But how many times a day do you say that? Hey mom, have you seen my sneakers, computer, schoolwork, whatever? We don't seem to remember very well. Well, squirrels remember very well. They bury their food in different caches. A cache is a stash and a place to hide it. And scientists have studied squirrels and have watched them, and they know that they return and regather most of the food that they hide away. Squirrels have also been observed making fake food stashes. If a squirrel is burying its food and thinks another squirrel or animal is watching it, they won't really bury the food. They'll just pretend to try to fake out that other animal. Squirrels even move their hoards of food to keep other animals from getting to them. They bury the food, think they're being watched, and go away. Then they'll come back when the other animal is gone and dig that food back up. Pretty clever, huh? Our next animal is the beaver, Castor canadensis. In this picture, there's a beaver making a V-shaped trail as it swims across a pond. Can you see its head just on the other side of the branch? Have you ever seen a beaver dam? Beavers are mammals that live near streams of water. A beaver will cut down trees with their large, strong teeth. They use the tops of those trees as a food source and the bottom part of the trees to build dams to stop up the water and make ponds, and to build their homes, which we call lodges. If a beaver hears running water, it'll start to place logs and sticks where the water is running to stop that water from running. It's instinctual for them to build and protect dams. An instinct is a natural quality that makes people and animals tend to behave in a particular way using the knowledge and abilities that they were born with rather than thought or training. We know beavers build dams that dramatically alter the land around them. But do they do this because they are really smart or as an instinctual act? Scientists believe that the building behavior of beavers should be classified as an instinctual act. So while we may think beavers are pretty smart when we watch them as they work, we're actually just seeing them react to their inner urges or instincts. They're not learning to build or figuring out how to use trees and branches to do what they wish. So we wouldn't classify beaver as an intelligent animal. But they're still pretty cool to watch, aren't they? Next up on our list of mammals in Pennsylvania is the black bear, Ursus americanus. Black bears are known garbage eaters, and keeping them out of trash or a food locker while camping is a hard task. Black bears have been long known to get into garbage and food stores left out by humans. To prevent this, people have tried to make food lockers and trash bins that keep bears out. One way that we used to keep bears out of food was we'd hang the food high up in the air. But bears have found a way to work together and get that food. They help each other get food that's out of reach by climbing on top of one another and forming a pyramid, kind of like cheerleaders at a football game. That way, they get taller and they can get to the food. So rangers at campgrounds have been working hard to try and figure out how to make a bear-proof locker. One thing they have found is if they put a carabiner as part of the final lock, bears can't open them because they can't squeeze it. They don't have thumbs, so they can't get in the trash. That is, if intelligent people who are given the use of the food locker remember to put the carabiner on. Rangers still see food being stolen out of these bear-proof lockers because the humans didn't put the last piece on, the carabiner. Pretty smart, huh? Another way to try to test intelligence is to see if an animal can count. That is, know if something is more or less. Well, bears did as well as primates on this test of counting. The researchers used dots on a screen, and if there were more dots, it meant more food, and the bears would pick the more dots to get the more food. Even when the researchers changed it up a little bit and made it so that if the bear pushed the smaller amount of dots, if they knew that the smaller amount of dots gave them the food, they would push that. So it seems that the research shows the bears get the concept of more or less. They can tell the difference in those patterns of dots to be able to get food. They're still looking pretty smart, aren't they? Another test of bear intelligence that I found out about was when a bear looks in a mirror, does it seem to recognize himself? And they do. Bears were put to this test and met all the standards that the scientists considered necessary to say that they are intelligent. We know that black bears are very curious and playful. It's cool to know that they're intelligent as well. If you're a hunter or know people that hunt, I bet you've heard a story or the hunters say that deer seem to know when it's hunting season and know that they should hide. Are deer intelligent? What do you think? Many hunters have even found the places the deer had hidden the day after hunting season. They find little gullies in the ground or areas in open-sided sheds where the deer had been laying, but they aren't there when it's not hunting season. On the other hand, Many deer get hit by cars. It seems like they would learn to stay away from highways and roads. They cause so many accidents. What do you think? This web search to see about intelligence in deer became its own lesson. I had a preformed opinion, not a good idea for a scientist. I was sure I was going to find websites that talked about the intelligence of deer and how many skills they learn to survive. In fact, what I did find pointed out that deer survive on instinct, not knowledge. I also had a hard time finding real scientific data about deer intelligence. Scientists have written and shared a lot of data for bears, beaver, and squirrels, but I was unable to find the same sort of articles for deer. Most of the deer articles I found were written from hunters' perspective, some scientific, some not. It was a good lesson reminder for me to remember to look for reliable, peer-reviewed sources, even on the internet. And it's one that you should remember as you do your internet research as well. So why did I include deer in my presentation? I did it to share with you that even teachers are still learning. We go through the same steps to prepare our lessons and presentations that we ask you to do for reports for your schoolwork. Keep working hard and learn all you can in any way you can. And most importantly, use good sources in your research. Deer are still a wonderful animal we can enjoy, and lessons come from many places. So in review, today we've
Like all primates, lemurs are related to humans through a common ancestor that lived as many as 65 million years ago. Scientists believe lemurs share many characteristics with those earliest primates, making them a window, though a blurry one, into our ancient past.
Got a choice here, Terry's. Come on up.
Duke Professor Liz Brannon investigates how well lemurs, like Terry's here, can compare quantities.
Many different animals choose larger food quantities. So what is Terry's doing? What are all of these different animals doing when they compare two quantities? Well, clearly he's not using verbal labels. He's not using symbols. We need to figure out whether they can really use number, pure number, as a cue.
To test how well Terry's can distinguish quantities, he's been taught a touchscreen computer game. The red square starts around. If he touches it, two squares appear containing different numbers of objects. He's been trained that if he chooses the box with the fewest number, he'll get a reward, a sugar pellet. A wrong answer?
We have to do a lot to ensure that they're really attending to number and not something else.
To make sure the test animal is reacting to the number of objects and not some other cue, Liz varies the object's size, color, and shape. She has conducted thousands of trials and shown that lemurs and rhesus monkeys can learn to pick the right answer.
Terry's obviously doesn't have language, and he doesn't have any symbols for number. So is he counting? Is he doing what a human child does when they recite the numbers 1, 2, 3? No. And yet, what he seems to be attending to is the very abstract essence of what a number is.
Lemurs and rhesus monkeys aren't alone in having this primitive number sense. Rats, pigeons, fish, raccoons, insects, horses, and elephants all show sensitivity to quantity. And so do human infants.
They're going to be filming him.
At her lab on the Duke campus, Liz has tested babies that were only 6 months old. They'll look longer at a screen with a changing number of objects, as long as the change is obvious enough to capture their attention. Liz has also tested college students, asking them not to count, but to respond as quickly as they could to a touchscreen test comparing quantities. The results? About the same as lemurs and rhesus monkeys.
In fact, there are humans who aren't as good as our monkeys and others that are far better. So there's a lot of variability in human performance, but in general, it looks very similar to a monkey.
Substitute in the 3, you raise that to the 4.
Even without any mathematical education, even without learning any number words or symbols, we would still have, all of us as humans, a primitive number sense. That fundamental ability to perceive number seems to be a very important foundation, and without it, it's very questionable as to whether we could ever appreciate symbolic mathematics.
The building blocks of mathematics may be pre-programmed into our brains, part of the basic toolkit for survival, like our ability to recognize patterns and shapes, or our sense of time. From that point of view, on this foundation, we've erected one of the greatest inventions of human culture: mathematics. But the mystery remains. If it is all in our heads, why has math been so effective? Through science, technology, and engineering, it's transformed the planet, even allowing us to go into the beyond.
I hope you've enjoyed our look at animal intelligence. To learn more, use any search engine. For a good giggle, search for bears and soccer balls. Thank you for joining me on Learn at Home.